Call to order, Town of Prescott Valley, regular Town Council meeting, May 9th, 2024. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Leyva.
Here.
Councilmember Greer.
Here.
Councilmember Dickinson.
Here.
Councilmember Hepperly.
Here.
Councilmember Schumacher.
Present.
Vice Mayor Hunt.
Here.
Mayor Polguda.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, ma'am. At this time, I would like to welcome down Chaplain Jerry Ferguson for our invocation and to lead us in the pledge.
Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father and Almighty God, you who promised to never leave us or forsake us, we come to you with humble hearts, thanking you for your presence in all that we do and wherever we are. Thank you for protecting our first responders in challenging times and for giving them wisdom and courage in making decisions. Thank you for protecting our medical personnel in situations which demand their sharpest behavior and ability. Thank you for helping us to wisely move through lifestyle decisions we've never experienced before. Father, I pray for your continued leadership amidst our political leaders, nationally, statewide, and locally. As we become increasingly engaged in the various debates and discussions leading up to casting our ballots, may we have a sense of peace that you are guiding us. I thank you for our town council members and their desire to serve us to the best of their ability. Your word says, as iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. Thank you for the growth that is taking place in them during this process. I thank you for all the department heads and town employees who seek to make the town of Prescott Valley an enjoyable and productive place to live. Father, as the residents of our community express themselves in ways which our legal system allows, may each of us be willing to allow others the same freedoms we enjoy. And as we exercise our freedom of speech, may we all grow stronger. Your word says, those who are strong ought to bear with the failings of the weak and not to please ourselves. Each of us should please our neighbors for their good, to build them up. Your word also says, do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interest, but each of you to the interest of others. Our Father, may this be our attitude and prayer as we continue through our meeting tonight and beyond. I pray this in the name of our Redeemer. Amen.
Now for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Next up, proclamations.
Apraxia Awareness Day. Whereas May 14 marks Childhood Apraxia of Speech Day, during which awareness will be raised throughout Prescott Valley about childhood apraxia of speech, an extremely challenging speech disorder that affects 1 in 1,000 children. Whereas childhood apraxia of speech, CAS, causes children to have significant difficulty learning to speak and is among the most severe speech deficits in children. And whereas the act of learning to speak comes effortlessly to most children, those with apraxia require early, appropriate, and intensive speech therapy, often for many years to learn to speak. And whereas without appropriate speech therapy intervention, children with apraxia will have diminished communication skills, but are also placed at high risk for secondary impacts in reading, writing, spelling, and other school-related skills. Whereas such primary and secondary impacts diminish future independence of employment and opportunities and challenge the ability to become productive, contributing citizens if not resolved or improved. And whereas public awareness about childhood apraxia of speech in Prescott Valley is essential for families of children with this neurological disorder and the professionals who support them to achieve the needed services for those learning to use their own voice. Whereas our highest respect goes to these children as well as their families for their effort, determination, and resilience in the face of such obstacles. Whereas Aprexia Kids is the leading nonprofit that strengthens the support systems in the lives of children with aprexia of speech. Please visit www.aprexia-kids.org for more information. Now, therefore, I, Kelpa Gura, Mayor of the Town of Prescott Valley, do hereby proclaim May 14, 2024 as Aprexia Awareness Day in Prescott Valley, and I encourage citizens to work with their communities to increase awareness and understanding of childhood aprexia of speech. Thank you.
I'd just like to thank the council for taking the time. I wrote multiple letters because I'm persistent, and I appreciate you just accepting my email and me cornering you at the Texas Roadhouse. So I appreciate that. I'm persistent, so I apologize for that and interrupting your family dinner, but I do appreciate the time for the council today. Thank you so much. Thank you.
What's his name?
Nolan.
Nolan, come on.
And I'm gonna get out of.
One more time. Next up, National Public Works Week. Nolan, you did great, buddy. Good job. You're welcome.
Whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of Prescott Valley. Whereas this infrastructure, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public work professionals who are engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government and the private sector, who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. And whereas it is the public interest for the citizens, civic leaders, and children in Prescott Valley to gain knowledge of and maintain an ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works and public works programs in their respective communities. Whereas this year, 2024, marks the 64th Annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Kelpa Gura, do hereby designate the week of May 19 through the 25th as National Public Works Week, and urge all citizens to join with representatives of the American Public Works Association and government agencies in activities, events, and ceremonies designated to pay tribute to our public works professionals, engineers, managers, and employees, and to recognize the substantial contributions they make to protecting our national health, safety, and advancing quality of life for all. Thank you.
Mayor, Council, Town Management, I just want to, and the audience and residents, I just want to thank our amazing Public Works team for all that they do. This is only a handful of our team. The rest couldn't make it, but without you all, we could not do what we do. So thank you.
You guys are going to have to listen to LaToya, okay?
Okay.
We might want to get one in front. Yeah.
Squeeze.
You're good. You're good. Come on up here. Yeah, come on up.
Thank you.
Final proclamation will be Building Safety Month.
Whereas the town of Prescott Valley is committed to recognizing that our growth and strength depends on the safety and essential role our homes, buildings, and infrastructure play both in everyday life and when disasters strike. Whereas our confidence in the resilience of these buildings that make up our community is achieved through the devotion of vigilant guardians, building safety and fire prevention officials, architects, engineers, builders, tradespeople, design professionals, laborers, plumbers, and others in the construction industry who work year-round to ensure the safe construction of buildings. Whereas these guardians are dedicated members of the International Code Council, a nonprofit that brings together local, state, territorial, tribal, and federal officials who are experts in the built environment to create and implement the highest quality codes to protect us in the building where we live, learn, work, and play. Whereas these modern building codes include safeguards to protect the public from hazards such as hurricanes, snowstorms, tornadoes, wildland fires, floods, and earthquakes. Whereas Building Safety Month is sponsored by the International Code Council to remind the public about the critical role of our communities, largely unknown protectors of public safety, our local code officials who assure us of safe, sustainable, and affordable buildings that are essential to our prosperity. Whereas Mission Possible, the theme for Building Safety Month, encourages all to raise awareness about building safety on a personal, local, and global scale. Whereas each year, in observance of Building Safety Month, people all over the world are asked to consider the commitment to improve building safety, resilience, and economic investment at home and in the community, and to acknowledge the essential service provided to all of us by local and state building departments, fire prevention bureaus, and federal agencies in protecting lives and property. Now, therefore, I, Kelpa Gouda, Mayor of the Town of Prescott Valley, do hereby proclaim the month of May as Building Safety Month. Accordingly, I encourage our citizens to join us as we participate in Building Safety Month activities. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I feel that this award or this month recognition is truly acknowledges what our team does. Development Services wouldn't be what we are without our leader here, Woody Lewis, who is our building official, our chief building official, I should say, but we've got certified inspectors that not only go out nights and weekends, but during their day job too. They're always committed to the safety of our town. So I'd like to give a shout out not only to Woody, but his inspectors for a tremendous job that they've done.
I would just like to thank you for supporting the Building Department of Town of Prescott Valley.
I didn't recognize you without hat. Next up, Student of the Month.
All right, last student of the month of the school year. Maybe we could do summer school student of the month. The Town of Prescott Valley, in collaboration with the Optimist Club of Yavapai County and Bradshaw Mountain High School, are honoring these outstanding students for the month of May. Welcome Tiana Valentin and Robert Manning. We are recognizing these students because of their school and community engagement. They have been nominated by school staff and instructors at Bradshaw Mountain High School. Congratulations to both of you. We're going to hear a little bit more about your individual achievements, starting with Tiana. Come on up.
My principal told me to come up here and brag about myself, so I wanted to start off by saying during my high school years, I've tried to challenge myself and succeed in everything I did. I'm an AP and 4.0 student, and I plan to study biology at Northern Arizona University in hopes of becoming a dermatologist in the future. I played basketball all 4 years of high school and was on varsity my junior and senior years. I also played softball until my junior year. I volunteered with my basketball team at elementary schools where we would read to the students or work booths for the school. I also volunteered on my church and would watch over the nursery during the service. I did all of this while also being able to keep up with my grades. I've taken multiple AP classes and still obtained over a 4.0 throughout my 4 years of high school. I'm grateful for the teachers and staff who helped and pushed me to succeed, and I'm also thankful for my family who never let me down.
Now, do you actually go by Robert? Robbie, come on up.
Right, my name is Robbie Manning. I'm a student athlete, and I'm in 2 school organizations, Student Council and FBOA, the Future Business Leaders of America. Community service has always been important to me, almost as important as maintaining a good grade. I have a high GPA. I am planning on going to Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University in 2025. I want to study global business and supply chain management. I hope to one day be able to lead the supply chain business in the world and possibly in outer space. In terms of community service, I have partnered with FBOA and the League of Women's Voters to set up voter registration drives at Bradshaw Mountain High School, where we can get 18-year-olds and soon-to-be 18-year-olds registered to vote. I am incredibly thankful for my family, for my FBOA advisor, and for my student council advisor for getting me here and getting me ready to present in front of all of you guys. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Bradshaw. All right. That's all, yeah.
Principal Bradshaw.
Thank you. As always, it's an honor to bring forth our best students. Thank you, Mayor Palguda and Town Council and Councilwoman Hepperly. Kind of a bittersweet because it is our last month in May. We probably won't bring summer school, but we will look forward, and we're excited to come back in August. So thank you.
And from the Optimist Club, Mr. Mike Whiting.
Well, it's nice to see everybody again, and especially our 2 students of the month. It's a very special Thursday, as I always like to look at it, and we're here to celebrate them today. We're recognizing Tiana and Robert for their achievements and accomplishments in academics, athletics, as well as personal involvement at school and in the community. They have demonstrated the hard work necessary to excel in their schoolwork and other personal goals, or obviously they would not be here. So we commend you on that and look forward to your future schoolwork and hopefully coming back to Prescott Valley to contribute once more after high school graduation. We'd also like to recognize those who have supported these students to strive for the best, which obviously they have. And we'd like to ask parents and relatives of these 2 students to stand up and take a bow for your support of these 2 students. Don't be shy. Good. Obviously, without you, they would not be here. So we know that and acknowledge that as well. So it is with extreme pleasure that we congratulate you on behalf of the town of Prescott Valley, Bradshaw Mountain High School, and the Optimist Club of Yavapai County. So congratulations. Let's hear a round of applause again. Can't give too much applause. And we'd like to give just a few things to remember this evening. And I'll ask April to pass these out. These are certificates of achievement. And we do have the Optimist Creed. What I always like to add is that if you can live by the Optimist Creed, just 10 things you have to follow, you'll be a great human being. So congratulations again. Thank you. Thank you, Council.
Thank you. Good job, guys. Next up, item 4B, CAFMA Prescott Fire Department Legato Fire Overview. Chief Freitag, Chief Durer. Welcome, gentlemen.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing us to be here. To the two high school students we're hiring.
Both of us.
Yeah, we're good. We're looking for folks. So Scott Freitag, Fire Chief of the Central Arizona Fire Medical Authority, your fire department.
And I'm Holger Durer, Fire Chief for the City of Prescott.
So we just wanted to come in tonight and give you just a 30,000-foot quick view of the Legato fire. We all know the outcome of the fire. We just want to give you a little bit of background on the relationship that we have, the response that night, but we also want to talk about the response of the town of Prescott Valley. We don't want that to go unrecognized. So the early morning hours of April 1st, when our crews arrived on the scene, every wing of the building had at least one, if not more, floors heavily involved in fire. There was nothing that we were going to do at that point to save that building or change what was going to happen to it. What they needed to do, and our folks did very well, they made great tactical decisions right out of the gate that saved the surrounding properties. And the things that they did that night are the reason that Homestead didn't receive more damage, that BMO Bank's still standing, that the Bain Signature Group building doesn't have damage to it. And so I just have to recognize them for those efforts that evening. That particular day, we had an acting battalion chief. It was our training chief on duty. He had driven around Legato because that's a target hazard for us. So all of our battalion chiefs in Battalion 3 would drive around that building on a regular basis. All of our crews out of Station 50, the Bain Signature Group was great at giving our folks access. They knew that building inside and out. Would have been good to use some of our new mid-rise training, but couldn't go in the building at that point. Let's talk about training. So we see a lot of mid-rise buildings going up in the area, and we think it's great to see the development. Our training for our personnel, both CAFMA and Prescott, had shifted about 2 years ago to focus more on mid-rise training. So we were ready for that type of fire. And one of the things I'd point out is a lot of times you hear radio traffic, and in an incident like that, you would expect a heightened sense of anxiety to come across the radio. Our folks were so well trained. They were calm, cool, collected the entire time. They knew exactly what to do, how to deploy, and that made a difference. And the ultimate outcome, which was we kept it to the building of origin.
Yeah, and those actions are obviously informed by continuous training that we do together. This is what we call a boundary drop system. So basically the residents of Prescott Valley, Chino, Prescott, everybody else gets about 15 and a half engines, I guess you could say. On any given day, you can see a Central Arizona engine in Courthouse Square, and you might see a City of Prescott engine running a call here in Prescott Valley. And that is just the efficiency that I think all of our residents and our taxpayers would demand. The real piece of that Chief Freitag mentioned is the training that goes into that. In order for us to be able to seamlessly operate like that, we have to train together continuously. Our policies are fairly well aligned, and we do constant work on that. As a matter of fact, those first couple of minutes at that incident were a mix of Prescott and Central Arizona Fire and Medical Authority company officers that made split-second decisions. You don't have time to talk about, hey, would it be okay if I do this? We just act, right? And that acting comes from that joint training that we do on a regular basis.
So I want to talk briefly about mutual aid because there seems to have been some confusion in the community and some comments that thank God they had mutual aid because Central Arizona and Prescott didn't have enough resources to put on the fire. The fact of the matter is, other than one Cottonwood ladder truck, every unit that was on that fire was CAFMA and Prescott. We had a total of the 15 engines we have, 13 were on the fire that night, and we had approximately 55 personnel on the ground, along with additional resources. So we do have the resources to handle that type of an event. The mutual aid that came in backfilled our fire stations, and those mutual aid units ran an additional 34 calls not related to the fire. Why everybody was up at that time of the morning, I have no idea. It's like, go back to bed. So when we look at that response, And we look a week later at the conflagration down in Phoenix where they had the housing development go up. If you look at that, 7 different municipalities responded to that incident in Phoenix, not just the Phoenix Fire Department, 7 different municipalities. So what I can stand here in front of you and say is that the countywide mutual aid and the statewide mutual aid system worked. It did as it was designed to do, and no one was delayed in getting help when they called 911 despite the fire. So one of the other things I did, and this goes to the partnership that we have, you know, who's going to answer the phone when you call at 1:45 in the morning, right? And that's what I was doing. And I called Chief Durr at 1:45 and said, Legato's on fire. That's all I had to say. And he happens to live in Stone Ridge, so he opened his back window and looked and said, oh, okay, we're on our way. And in no time, we had the entire Prescott command staff standing side by side with the CAFMA command staff on that incident.
One of the things that was really remarkable is that it extends beyond the fire department. An incident like that, as you can imagine, when fire trucks are pumping water for that long, they run out of fuel eventually, right? So what happened is automatically our City of Prescott Fleet Services manager contacted me and said, hey, you guys need some help out there. And pretty soon it was Central Arizona Fire and Medical Fleet and City of Prescott Fleet driving around, refilling all the fire trucks, making sure that there wasn't a breakdown. And that didn't need more than just that same understanding that I mentioned about the training. It just organically happens. And obviously, as 2 fire chiefs, we're extremely proud of that collaboration. That takes work. That takes work and a focus on relationships and partnerships that are real. One of the things that I often say is it's not just in the good times that we stand together, we also own each other's liabilities. And by doing that is really when that partnership can come through. Our fleet manager knew that the Prescott or the Central Arizona ladder truck was in the shop at the time. They don't look at that board on a regular basis, but because of that constant communication between our fleet and Central Arizona's fleet, he knew that at the top of his head and was actually worried about it. Luckily, CAFM was able to retrieve that truck, but just the fact that those nuances were in our fleet department is remarkable.
And I will say we're buying a second ladder truck. We're just in the process of trying to obtain one at the moment. It could be 2 months, could be 2 years, but we are getting a second ladder truck. Prescott Regional Communications Center was fantastic that night. The dispatcher on call for the 911, 133 calls for the Legato fires, how many that dispatcher handled. And then again, the mutual aid units coming in, 34 additional calls for service. Something unique happened that night as well. Your police chief, Chief Ticer, arrived on the scene, came over to the fire command vehicle, hopped in the back seat, and stayed there and helped coordinate the police and fire efforts. I've been in this for 31 years. It's the first time I've ever had a police chief work within the Unified Command, and I think that goes to the credibility, knowledge, and expertise of the police chief you have here in PV. So thank you for that. Additionally, PVPD and their evacuation of the Homestead Apartments, those officers that night did a fantastic job of ensuring the safety of those residents and getting them out of an area that was in danger at the time. The other one is Gilbert. So again, it goes back to relationships and partnerships. And while our agency is separate from the town, we are intertwined. And it's important that we have a strong relationship. He answered my call at 1:45 or 2 o'clock in the morning and said, "What do you need?" I said, I need you to contact your water department, make sure we do not lose pressure in this area. It's vitally important. He made the call. Neil and his team did the work. And I don't think there's too many places in the state where you would see a water department come online and do what they did to make sure we never lost pressure. That was a lot of water. So kudos to the water department, to Gilbert, and the relationship that we enjoy between all of us. And the community outpouring of support. The restaurants, the Chief Ticer somehow got us coffee from Maverick. It was fantastic. As we were out there at 1:45, 2 o'clock in the morning, at 5 o'clock in the morning, we needed some caffeine. So what are the next steps? We're working on planning, conducting an after-action report. We're going to do it a little differently because there were so many people present, so we're going to do 3 separate ones. Ultimately, we're going to produce a bound document that walks through everything that occurred that night. And that way the community has something they could put their hands on and see what exactly happened on that incident, what went well and what could go better. And then the final thing that I have is that I just want to say our thoughts and prayers remains with the Faint Signature Group and their family. It's a significant loss, and the stress is unimaginable. But our thoughts and prayers are also with all of those who lost their jobs that night, good paying construction jobs in this community. And we hope and pray that things get cleared off and we get people back to work soon. So we thank you very much for your time. There will be a series of podcasts on the Legato fire coming out starting next week, where we take a little deeper dive, but this is just a quick overview and a thank you to you and your staff for all the work they did that night. You deserve a lot of credit.
Awesome, guys. Thanks for your presentation. Next up, call to the public. At this time, members of the public may comment on matters listed on the agenda or solely on matters within the jurisdiction of the town. Any persons wishing to address the council must register their name with the town clerk prior to the commencement of the meeting. The council's response is limited to criticism, asking staff to review a matter commented upon, or asking that a matter be placed on a future agenda. Such remarks shall be limited to 3 minutes unless additional time is granted by the mayor. And as a reminder for anyone new, at 2.5 minutes, you will hear a ding, and that's your 30-second warning. And then at 3 minutes, you'll also hear additional dings. But just because your time is up here at council doesn't mean your time is up speaking with staff or any other council member. You can make an appointment at any time, and we can have a more of a good discussion back and forth. So with that being said, clerk.
We have Bill Williams and Chris Russo.
Welcome, gentlemen. One will just take one podium and the other. Thank you.
Okay. Mayor, council, staff, Chris Russo, proud Arizonan, proud Prescott Valley citizen, and of course a proud American. At the April 11th meeting, Councilwoman Lucy Leyva said one of her goals as a council member was to encourage the integration of our communities. She made note of a 33-member Hispanic Business Association. And first of all, why did she pluralize community? Prescott Valley is a community, not multiple communities. And why do we need a Hispanic Business Association? Prescott Valley is 82% white. Do we have a white or Western European Business Association? And let me just say, I was thinking about this sitting here. I don't believe that we should have any association, business group, community, or anybody that has an immutable trait that is hyphenated with that organization. I think that if we had a Prescott Valley Business Council that had all the businesses, and we didn't pick and choose which businesses we would have on the website, Hispanic businesses, seem like you're prioritizing or giving preferential treatment to Hispanic businesses, and that's all you have on there. I did look for other businesses. I noticed you have a lot of services up there, but there's no businesses by any other group of people. So if we had 33 Black businesses come into Prescott Valley, or Chinese businesses, or Islam businesses, or whatever, blah blah blah. If we had any, we have to have a council for those as well. An association for them too. I don't, like I said, I don't think that we should have any immutable traits hyphenated with any businesses in Prescott Valley. If you want to have a Prescott Valley Business Association, period, that's what I think should happen, not separating us by immutable traits. Thank you.
Mr. Williams.
Bill Williams, longtime homeowner here in Prescott Valley. Let's clear up why we should vote no on home rule. But first, I want to echo the sentiments regarding the great town staff. They are great. The problem with this town is we're top-heavy with six-figured salaried administrators. That's one main problem. Last year, you managed to spend $228 million. It's in your 310-page budget. I guess you do it by the pound. You only brought in $171 million. It's in your 310-page budget. But you got $100 million in the bank, and that's in your pie chart in your 310-page budget. But we're fear-mongering, aren't we? You're talking to places like the local pretend newspaper, and you're fear-mongering, like, if you don't vote for it, we're going to have job cuts. I don't think so, not with $100 million in the bank. And don't tell me you can't liquidate some of that, because you can. So you've got people whining in the newspaper, if it doesn't get voted in, we're going to only have $66 million to work with. Well, as Marie Antoinette once said, let them eat cake. Tighten your belt, my parents would have said. You are, as I said, you're top heavy in 6-digit salaried department managers. You utilize nonstop hiring of 6-digit consultants. But we have potholes and no idea of how much water we have. And kudos to Fire Chief Freetag, but he told 30 of us at a meeting the other day that he can't hire firefighters because we have an unattainable and unaffordable housing situation. And Lori, you said a few weeks ago you're kind of naming yourself the affordable and attainable.
Williams, I'm going to stop you. Stop
Czar?
directing the council directly. You speak to the council as a whole, not individually.
Okay, well, I was just stating a fact.
Well, I'm telling you what you need to do.
Well, okay. Then we'll see how the czar does with unattainable and unaffordable. So if you say you can't operate on $66 million, but you've got $100 million in the bank, that's like doing it on our shoes and tell us it's raining. Good luck on July 30th.
Somewhere there's a village. Let's go on to council communications. We'll start on the end over here. Councilwoman Greer, anything to add?
Yes, well, Prescott Valley Days, starting today and ending on Sunday, and our parade on Saturday at 9 o'clock, starting on Lakeshore, going to Skog, around Skog, going back to Lakeshore, and then down to Lake Valley Road. And I hope everyone will turn out and join us.
Councilwoman? Vice Mayor?
Good evening, everybody. I need to give a big shout out to the Parks and Rec Department. Probably one of my most favorite parks now is Antelope Park. And over the last 2 years, we have done sports field lighting, restroom rehab, multi-use path through the park connecting it, 8 pickleball courts, and it was the home to our very first tournament for pickleball, which was very well received, a splash pad, and then part of the Friends of the Prescott Valley Parks and Rec, which I am on, collected money to install a Sergeant Rick Lopez memorial. He was murdered in the line of duty. We also did parking lot rehab and new site furnishings. And we're getting ready to install a cover near the splash pad because that's something that residents have asked for. And we're working on getting a community development block grant, which is federal funding, for a new playground out there. And the reason why I say this is because I do some subbing at Coyote Springs Elementary, which is within walking distance of that park. And those littles frequent that park a lot, and they love it to pieces. So Parks and Rec, thank you. Council, thank you for accommodating that budget for Parks and Rec to do that.
Councilwoman?
A few things. Thank you all of our team, the Public Works team. That's amazing, everything that you guys do. The other thing is that there's so many ways to serve our community. I'm proud to say that we volunteer for Team Up to Clean Up this last weekend. Our company did, and it was very successful. It was a lot of fun, and we collaborated with the Chamber of Commerce, so that was great. The other thing, I mean, here it goes again to the power of relationships. Very proud of Kafma, our chief. Amazing to count with people on our team. Gilbert, I think you were calling us also at 1:30 in the morning, to be honest. And then that speaks very loudly of your commitment to serve our community. Also, this last Monday, we volunteered to help on the distribution of food boxes as a part of a project with Maya Mercado. So we made a donation and also help with that distribution to help our families in our community. So it's always great to serve. And that's all I have.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Davison?
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council, and thanks for the kind words, and to Chief Freitag. I want to take a moment to just thank the entire team, but especially Mr. Ryan Judy for filling in for me. I had a little surgery, and I've been going through a recovery for the last several weeks, and just beyond blessed and thankful for the entire team keeping everything going. It's a machine, and they do an incredible job. So. And it's good to start to be back into the office. The only other thing I have is our monthly report, which is available to all of our residents and to the council, is available on the website. And again, it's a compilation of all of the statistics from our different departments and some of our programmatic activities for this past month. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Moving on, consent agenda. All matters listed under consent agenda are considered routine by the town council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. Council, we've all had a chance to review our packet. Here's our opportunity. If there's nothing to be discussed in reference consent agenda, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to, first of all, congratulate, bless you, Sanford Lake to the Building Board of Appeals. And with that, I would like to move the consent agenda by electronic vote.
I'll second.
Clerk, please call the vote. Please call the vote.
That passes unanimously, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Next up, new business 9A, revised human resource policy manual. Mr. Legler, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. You'll remember last year the council adopted a new human resources personnel manual. It was putting in one manual what had previously been 27 different personnel policies. That was done in May, and then there were some tweaks that were done in June in 2023. Over the past year, a number of additional tweaks have been necessary. Rather than bring that to you on a tweak-by-tweak basis, the thought was to collect them for a year and then bring them all together. Let me just say that there were a number of them, but I'll hit some of the highlights here. There was some sick leave that was provided to seasonal employees, one paid hour of sick leave for 30 hours worked. That was new. There was some increased flexibility for the types of relocation expenses that might be used for recruiting purposes. There was some clarification of employees and dependents who are eligible for our group insurance. A number of changes were made so that we comply with the Craig-Tiger Act. A lot more detail and some additional visits that are allowed to employees, including former employees, if they need them for counseling purposes. There was some clarification of light duty. There was more detail in terms of our town vehicle use. There were some things that were put together for the police department, including the ability to provide some special pay to our, the name just went out of my head, who helped the sergeants, the corporals who helped the sergeants. And then finally, some additional requirements for personal protective equipment. So those are just some highlights, and we propose that you go ahead and re-adopt that policy today.
We have any questions for Mr. Legler? With that being said, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign resolution number 2024-2374, adopting the revised Human Resources Policy Manual by electronic vote.
I second it.
Clerk, please call the vote.
That passes unanimously, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. 9B, Mr. Legler, you're back up for the
I'm back up.
readoption other than the town policies.
You know, people always talk about me being the historian, and that's a bad thing because as I get older, my memory is getting worse and worse. So, but back in 2001, the council adopted what was then called the Prescott Valley Policies and Procedures Manual. And the way it was set up, there were a number of individually numbered policies in various categories. And so in 2023, when we adopted a combined human resources policy, we took those 27 personnel policies and we put them all in one. Well, what we needed to do then was go back and review all of the other policies, the administrative policies, the finance policies, the records policies, the purchasing policies, and the utilities policies. And so that work was done in 2023 to try to make sure that it went along with the changes that had been made in the Human Resources Manual. But what we needed then was a year to go ahead and take all those policies and put them in a new format, look at the ones that were out of date, look at the ones that had been pretty much encapsulated in the Human Resources Policy, and add a few that hadn't been, and make sure that we had everything up to date so that we would have all of the other policies in a way that the employees can look at them, review them, and use them. Now, there are 3 substantive changes that we are proposing to make. One change would be in the new cellular phones policy, and that would basically clarify who may receive either a town cell phone or a cell phone stipend. There's also some change to the town facilities usage policy to make sure that we don't have any thumb drives being put into our secure network so that it introduces malware. And that's one of the things we had been intending to do, especially if we have some of those things being put in here in terms of presentations to the council. And then finally, we needed to make sure that our social media policy, we had those that applied to the staff in the human resources policy and those that applied to the public in a separate policy. So we're proposing that you adopt all of these policies that are listed now in their new format with some of those changes.
Do you have any questions for Mr. Legler? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign resolution number 2024-2375, readopting the reformatted and revised remaining other policies in the Policies and Procedures Manual attached hereto in clean format by electronic vote.
I second it.
Clerk, please call the vote.
That passes unanimously, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. 9C, IGA, ADOT study, Prescott Valley Shared Use Path.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. This is another exciting project where Public Works gets to partner with community services. So thank you. They left, or I guess they left. I'm so sad. So we partnered together on this. Town staff actually submitted a grant back in the fall of last year for a transportation alternative grant through ADOT. We were notified in December that we were awarded such grant, and this grant is going to pay for the Lasso Loop. They call it the multi-use path, but we've coined it the Lasso Loop, which is a 24 to 26 mile loop around a multi-use path. So the purpose of the study is to lay out the groundwork of where the new shared multi-use path will be. So this will be a planning document. They will look at potentially connecting in the future to our neighboring communities. They will be looking at actual who owns the land and how difficult it would be. Are we going to do it along the river, or where are we going to place it? So they're going to be evaluating all of this for us. So that way, at the end of this document, once they hand that over, we have a roadmap to move forward to apply for future grants for design and implementation. And segment by segment, we'll be able to knock this out, hopefully in my lifetime. That's my goal. And so just some high-level things. So ADOT is going to actually be administering as the project manager for this study. They will be going out to their on-call consultants and asking for requests for proposals. The town will be involved every step of the way. So we will be giving input on the proposals that are submitted. We will make sure that the actual document is reviewed internally by our team members and that it fits the need of the scope of work that we are paying for. There is a bit of a match, but the majority of the project is paid for through grant funding. Next steps, future project elements. So the vision was there before I came on board, which was an amazing vision, but we want to make sure that we're connecting to the community, we're connecting to future businesses that can support the multi-use path, and also we want to make sure that it's not just for recreation, that we actually want to try to get vehicles off of our roadways and get people commuting back and forth to retail centers, to schools, to parks. And so we're envisioning information centers along the way, bike repair stations, and of course, public art that fits in each different location. And I'd be happy to take any questions.
I don't have a question. I just think it's awesome and it's super exciting to be able to take another step forward towards this. Our community definitely is something for them to get behind. So,
Absolutely. This is a very exciting project.
Council, any other comments or questions?
I have a question, two questions, Heather. First, this grant money can only be used for this purpose. We can't use it to fill potholes.
We cannot use it for any other purpose than what the grant application was for, which was for this planning document.
Thank you. And then looking into the future, so we have what we need is right-of-way, and a developer comes in to develop next to it. They have to build that part of Lasso Loop?
That is correct. Yes.
Anything else for Ms. Reuter?
I have a question with reference to crossing over Highway 69. Are we looking at possibly building a pedestrian bridge of some nature?
Gilbert is always on me about that. We actually are going to look at all alternatives. I just found out just a couple weeks ago, there's already a culvert that crosses underneath 69. So we are going to evaluate that and see if we can't go under 69, just like we're going to go under SR 89A to the north. Because if we could go under the roadway, it's a lot more cost effective than building a flyover going over. Yeah.
Councilwoman?
I just wanted to say one thing too. I know with the weather getting so nice lately that I've noticed so many more bicyclists even on the highways.
Yes.
So this is what I'm excited about is maybe they'll then get off the highways and onto the Lasso Loop because I know a lot of people come here for the higher altitude training. And so I think this is going to be a fantastic addition to our town. So thank you guys for working so
Yeah.
hard on it.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank you.
it.
I'll take a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the state of Arizona for the Prescott Valley Shared Use Path Network Study by electronic vote.
Second.
Clerk, please call the vote.
All right. Good evening, Mayor.
Hang on.
Sorry.
I know you're
It
excited.
passes unanimously, Mayor.
All right. 9D, go ahead.
Sorry about that. Sorry about
I
that,
know, it's
Mayor.
efficient. I like it. We should start implementing that before votes.
Oh, good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council. This evening, I'm going to be presenting on the Jacobs Professional Services Agreement for the 100% design for PFAS treatment for wells 2, 3, and 4 down in Quailwood. Before I get into some of the details of the 100% design, I just wanted to come to you all with an update. As you know, things are constantly evolving, and we were waiting for the EPA to release the final MCL for PFOS, PFOA, and those came out. It is now at 4 parts per trillion, which is the levels that were proposed. So no surprise there, which is good. So that's kind of what we were expecting. So those are the enforceable limits that we will have to comply with by 2029. Phase 1, the 30% PFAS design, is complete at this point, and we're also continuing to look at funding options. And the next step is, of course, to start Phase 2 with this 100% design that I'm going to be talking with you about. I'm not going to go into all the details for all the tasks. Most of them are pretty self-explanatory. I did want to talk a little bit about the pilot testing and treatability testing. It's a significant portion of the project. It's a 6 to 9 month part of the project, and also around $500,000 cost to do this part of the project. And pilot testing is basically what we're going to do is take different manufacturers' media, and we're going to install it into 2-inch pipes, and we're going to run the water from the Quailwood wells through those test columns. And there's 2 reasons why we need to do this. Number 1, we need to prove out to ADEQ that the media will effectively remove the PFAS from the water, and in order to get an approval to construct from them. And then number 2, we also want to make sure that we're selecting the most cost-effective PFAS media that we can. And so through the testing process, there'll be staff there, Jacob's staff going over there multiple times a week, pulling samples, sending those samples to the lab. Of course, that'll be tested and then analyzed, and then that data will be compiled and then sent off to ADEQ. So that's a pretty significant part of the 100% design, and it is required by ADEQ that we go through the pilot testing. We are still communicating with them. We're trying to reduce it, possibly. At this point, they are wanting us to do a full-scale pilot, which would last that until the media in each one of those columns is fully used up, where to the point where the PFAS is actually passing through and no longer being removed. We are going to see if they will work with us to shorten that process up and maybe cut that in half, because, you know, if we get to the point where it gets halfway through the media column, we might have an opportunity to estimate then the second half, the life of the second half of the media. So we're going to be working with them to try to shorten that up. At this point, they want us to do a full-scale pilot. So the timeline, and this is an estimated timeline for this, upon approval in May this month, we would give Jacobs a notice to proceed. The pilot test would then begin, and that 6 to 9 month process would start. And then also they would start in on ADEQ review and approvals. And then March 25, we would be looking at a completion of the 100% design and receiving the ADEQ approval to construct, and then beginning construction for the Quailwood wells 2, 3, and 4 at that time. And then the final completion of construction and startup and commissioning would be in March of 2026. And this is an estimate. We are relying, or we're working with other agencies. So as far as this timeline, it's an estimate. Working with ADEQ and the other agencies that we are working with, it could go a little faster. It could take a little bit longer. And then also procurement of materials could take a little bit longer as well. So the contract summary. So this is 100% design for the Quailwood wells. At the end of this, they'll have the plans and everything to move towards construction so that we can provide a contractor a full set of plans and have all the permits, the approvals to construct, and designs all complete. It does not include Little Pete Well. Little Pete Well is under the 4 parts per trillion. It's in the 2.5 to 3 range, which is very good. So that well is under the contaminant level. And it does not include the recharge well, and the contract value is around $1.8 million. And then also I wanted to just add one last bullet point, that the estimated construction costs overall for the 3 Quellwood wells is around $2.5 million per site. So it's estimated around $8 million. We'll be coming to you at a later date for that as we get closer to selecting a contractor and moving into the construction phases. But I just wanted to share that little bit of information as well. So that is the end of my presentation.
Thank you,
I'd be
sir.
happy to
Council?
answer any questions.
Councilwoman Hepperly.
Is this brand new technology? And I ask because I'm wondering why ADEQ is requiring the pilot project. And after our pilot project is complete, does that mean if another municipality does this, do they have to not do the pilot project?
It is not a brand new technology. They have several PFAS treatment facilities over in California. I know that Jacobs has actually done this work over in California. And I know down in Tucson, they're doing PFAS remediation as well. And that is something that we still need to have discussions with ADEQ. And, you know, our thought is that we could go halfway through a pilot test. And we want to do that because we ultimately want to select as well the most cost-effective media. But no, it is not brand new technology. And that's some of the reason that we want to have further discussions with ADEQ about this.
Okay, thank
you.
Councilwoman?
Thank you for your presentation. What happens to the PFAS chemicals when they are removed? Where are they taken, or how are they
So the
fitted?
Okay, yes. The PFAS chemicals adhere to the media, and there are several different ways that they can be disposed of. There's incineration. They can be put into a lined landfill. So that's basically how, there are several different options for the disposal of that media once it is fully used up.
Will that be included in the price that you're showing us here today?
The
costs?
The disposal will not be included as far as because when we start construction, we'll be putting the new media into the vessels. So the disposal won't come till 2 or 3 years later once the media is all used up.
Mayor, council member, it'll just become an operational expense. Once we have it fully operational, that'll just become an annual part of the utility expense for maintenance.
And we should have more information about that after the pilot study, as far as how many bed volumes and how long the media will last.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve a direct agreement with Jacobs Engineering Group Incorporated for Prescott Valley PFAS design services for Quailwood Wells in the amount of $1,895,844 by electronic vote.
I second it.
Clerk, please call the vote.
That passes unanimously, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Last item, 9E, Arizona Water Infrastructure Financial Authority Grant, Advanced Metering Infrastructure and Public Outreach Project.
All right, thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council. We applied for a WIFA grant here recently, back in August of 23, and it was through the Arizona Water Conservation Grant Fund. And first of all, I want to give Tracy Lund the credit for this. She did a lot of work. Our Water Resources Advisor, she did a lot of work to go through this process to obtain this grant. In February, the WIFA Conservation Grant Fund Committee approved the award. And then, of course, it went on to the WIFA Board of Directors for approval. And on March 20th of this year, we were approved for a $2.1 million grant. And that also, it's town required that we match $547,000 of that grant. And then the final date is the scope of work. It must be completed by June 30th of 2026. The project, the scope of work, we will be finishing the conversion of the meter transmitters. I know that we've talked in the past about that, and we've had that in previous budgets to purchase those, and we have been purchasing those. We still have around 6,000 more to purchase, but we will be converting those over, so they will go from drive-by transmitters to transmitters that can transmit to the town directly. And this will also allow our citizens to connect to the WaterSmart portal by being on that network. So the scope will be, though, to purchase and install 6,000 of those units for residential and commercial customers. Also, as part of this grant, is the scope of work, we'll be purchasing and installing 173 large diameter meters for commercial accounts. The large diameter meters are very expensive. These meters, like the meter you see in this picture here, is probably about a $5,000 meter. So we're going to be able to use some of these grant funds to purchase 173 of these and get them installed for our large commercial users. And then also we will be working towards increasing enrollment and promoting our WaterSmart portal. It's a great tool for our citizens to conserve water, detect leaks, potential leaks that are going on at their homes, and ultimately also save money on their water bills. And then the final outcome, at full build-out, the program should yield an additional water savings of about 187 million gallons throughout the 15-year life of the transmitter. So, it's
Council, we have questions?
presentation.
Go ahead.
When you're installing the smart meters, are you also notifying the residents so that they can use the programs to start watching everything? Are you giving them like direct?
Yes, yes, and they also will work with our customer accounts department if they need assistance setting up their account on WaterSmart portal.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
No other questions? Council, entertain a motion.
I think tonight's my night. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the grant agreement documents from the Water Infrastructure Finance Authority of Arizona, known as WIFA, in the amount of $2,191,381 by electronic vote.
I second it.
Clerk, please call the vote.
That passes unanimously, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Awesome.
I'll second.
Clerk, please call the vote.
That passes unanimously, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Have a great night, everyone.